let's see. Done. Just sent my email letting them know I will no longer be taking student teachers.
Okay, yeah, but that's...
Just sent my email rescinding my offer to take an intern.
Okay, yeah, that's for... Yeah, okay, understood. All right, like and share the show, guys. Like and share. Okay, YouTube is up and running here.
Yep.
Which headline most intrigues you, Judah?
I mean, there's a lot of good here. I think this continuing UVA story is pretty wild. I mean, not UVA, but FEI. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that there's a Albemarle County supervisor candidate who is basically saying exactly what we've been saying the last few shows about the fact that using property tax to fund affordability programs is kind of hurting the people you're trying to help.
Keep talking to me.
I mean, I think we can all appreciate common sense in the people that, at least in this case, are candidates to be our leaders.
Yep.
Our city and county leaders.
So we're going to talk about it. Other headlines that intrigue you and why?
I'm intrigued about what Jehu Martin had to say. I don't fully understand the quotation, but I'm eager to find out. He's a smart guy, and I've talked to him and offered him a seat on the show in the past.
Jehu Martin, anytime you want to come by, there's scuttlebutt around town that the Fitzgerald Tire parking lot last night was the first rollout, that whoever's responsible for the Fitzgerald Tire parking lot now is now charging $11.50 an hour. And if you don't park appropriately in the parking lot, you will be potentially towed.
Wow. Is that just the lot right in front of them?
It's the building, yep. It's the building that's for sale in Belmont. And Belmontonians and restaurant goers for the downtown Belmont scene have been parking in that parking lot for decades.
Yeah.
Without being towed, without paying a fee.
Right.
Jehu Martin puts this on our radar. We have a potential piece of breaking news for you on the program. All right, let's rock and roll, viewers and listeners. Gosh, it's good to be back in the saddle. Judah Wickhauer is fired up. Can't you tell Judah Wickhauer is fired up? Let's rock and roll, Judah Wickhauer. Man, you are passionate today, Judah.
Am I?
Hammer that like button. Hammer the like button if you like the I Love CVille show. Retweet the show if you like the I Love CVille show.
Quiet on the set.
Quiet on the set. Good Tuesday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. Goodness gracious, today's show is locked and loaded with content left and right. We have at the dinner table here in our fair and fine city, Donald Trump. We have Charlottesville City Hall. We have Charlottesville Public Schools, and we have the Charlottesville Teacher Union, and we have the University of Virginia, all sitting at the dinner table. And folks, they're not breaking bread. They're not sharing the sangria. They're not in their best cotillion-like manners, asking folks to pass the stuffed potatoes so we can enjoy it with our filet mignon. No, instead, at that dinner table featuring Donald Trump, at that dinner table featuring City Hall, at that dinner table featuring Charlottesville, the University of Virginia, and the Teachers Union, ladies and gentlemen, threats galore, backstabbing, leverage, wheeling and dealing. And now the Teachers Union here in Charlottesville City has said if the University of Virginia does not give the Federal Executive Institute to public schools, then the Teachers Union and public schools will refuse to welcome UVA students into their classrooms as they log classroom hours to pursue education at the University of Virginia. You've seen it. I've seen it. When you want to be a teacher, you have to log classroom hours while you're pursuing your degree. City public schools have been welcoming University of Virginia students for generations into their classrooms. And now the Education Association, the union, says, not so fast, my friends. In the words of Lee Corso, we're going to talk about the intersection, the crossroad, the dynamic of Donald Trump impacting Charlottesville, Virginia on so many different levels. Last week, he tells the public school system, yes, you can have the Federal Executive Institute. Yes, you, public schools, can have these 14 acres in the heart of a 10.2 square mile city. 14 acres assessed at just under $20 million with a market value somewhere between $40 and $60 million. And yes, you, public school system, will be given this opportunity at $0. And yes, you, public school system, will get it ahead of the wealthy, the well-endowed, the rich University of Virginia with nearly 15 billion smackaroos in their endowment. Much to the surprise of everyone, Charlottesville public school supporters were doing jumping jacks atop Carter's Mountain, atop Wendell Woods Mountain, atop Pantops, on any hill, on any mountain available. They were championing what was a generational impact the Federal Executive Institute would have on preschoolers and soon to be a home to administrative offices. And ladies and gentlemen, at close of business Friday, Donald Trump said, I'm taking that back. You have no deal. I'm giving it to UVA. And it's left many in the community asking this question. Did Donald Trump, through the art of the deal, leverage the Federal Executive Institute to influence, pressure, encourage Jim Ryan and UVA to eradicate diversity, equity, and inclusion completely, fully, in totality from Thomas Jefferson's University in exchange for the FEI parcel? We'll unpack that on the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille show. On today's program, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a Albemarle County supervisor. He's a Democrat. A Democrat is saying this? Oh my goodness gracious. A Democrat is saying this. David Shreve?
Something like that.
Jack Jewett District. He's running against socialist Sally Duncan. And Jack Jewett candidate David Shreve goes on record and says, you know what, real estate taxes to create housing affordability, that's actually an oxymoron. Parting is such sweet sorrow. That's an oxymoron. You can't tax real estate to create housing affordability. That's just plain dumb. Says it on the campaign trail. Don't work that way. We're going to unpack that on today's show. Who's been saying on the I Love CVille network for years that when you tax rooftops, you cannot truly create housing affordability? I think I know. His name rhymes with Barry, but starts with a J. Tom and Jerry, Ben and Jerry, put your hand in the air if you've been saying this for a while. We're going to talk about that on today's program. We're going to talk to Jehu Martin. Jehu Martin, I hope you're watching the program. Someone text Jehu Martin. Someone call Jehu Martin. Jehu Martin sends me a message today at 11 o'clock in the morning. He's Mr. Belmont. He's our Belmont insider. Jehu Martin knows Belmont like Tony Bennett knows national championships. Jehu Martin knows Belmont like traffic knows the bypass, like luxury apartments not creating affordability, and like the Pope knows holy water. And Jehu Martin sends me this message today saying, oh my God, you got to cover this on the show. The Fitzgerald Tire building that's for sale for $1 million smackaroos. Last night, someone took control of that Fitzgerald parking lot, we don't know who, and they're renting the very little spaces at Fitzgerald Tire for $11.50 an hour. Furthermore, they got a hold of the Charlottesville police and said if you don't park appropriately in the Fitzgerald Tire building, your car could be ticketed and towed. And there was a police officer on the beat literally measuring bumpers to make sure that they didn't overhang sidewalks, because if they did, they got popped, they got towed, they got ticketed. And Jehu Martin saying something's going on over in Belmont, a place we've been parking for decades, the Fitzgerald parking lot, for free with no charge. what is going on. We'll talk about that on today's show. And we'll talk a topic that Deep Throat put on my radar via Twitter. The Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority and housing authorities across the country are under a Trumponian crossfire of significant proportions. Remember, the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority is the same authority that purchased the Vita Nova, the old pizza building across from the mall. Across from where Vita Nova is located right now, they're building an epicenter, a multi-million-dollar renovation project. The Redevelopment and Housing Authority, ladies and gentlemen, is the organization that I will read their mission statement to you in a matter of moments. A resident-centered organization committed to excellence in providing affordable quality housing, revitalizing communities, supporting resident involvement, and promoting upward mobility and self-sufficiency through partnerships in the public and private sectors. Trump is saying you're not going to get much public money. We'll see if it clears Congress, ladies and gentlemen. But the Redevelopment and Housing Authority in Charlottesville, like a lot of redevelopment and housing authorities, is potentially up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. Talk about that on today's show. A lot we're going to cover on the broadcast. It's good to be back, guys. It's good to be back. Judah Wickower behind the camera. We'll give some props to Judah Wickower, the fine folks at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. 60-plus years. We're almost at 61 for Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. Ladies and gentlemen, support the businesses you want to see make another 61 years. And ladies and gentlemen, John Vermillion and Andrew Vermillion at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply fit that mold. Doing business the right way, the honest way, the above-board way. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. And I want to highlight our firm, Charlottesville Business Brokers, Judah Wickower. We've done some fantastic deals of late. We help sell Great Harvest. Great Harvest over in there, McIntyre Plaza. That just closed. We help sell Crobies. We help open Tangerine Kitchen over on Avon Extended. We help sell Moe's. We help sell Package Depot. We got 3 other deals under contract right now. One of those deals caused us to be off air yesterday. The deal flow is significant. Charlottesville Business Brokers, online at charlottesvillebusinessbrokers.com. Judah Wickower, studio camera, then a 2-shot. Oh my goodness, it's good to be back in the saddle, my friend. I miss sitting across from you. I miss our friendly banter. Our combative conversation. I miss Judah Wickower, you heckling me left and right on the I Love CVille show.
I should heckle you more.
Why don't you heckle me more? I've literally encouraged you to heckle me more on the show.
Okay.
I've encouraged you to heckle me more on the show. Lisa Costello watching the program. Daily Progress watching the program. NBC 29, CBS 19. Jay Wyant, the gentleman farmer, the titan of Troy, watching the program. Richard Fox, another gentleman farmer, watching the program. Judah, where do we begin?
Oh, man.
Can I set the table and then you pick it apart like Thanksgiving turkey?
Sure.
Donald Trump, within the last month, says we're going to slash government spending. Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency says we're going to cut government spending. We're going to cut down and whittle this debt down like a number 2 pencil after the SATs. We're going to tariff these countries to drive incremental revenue, and we're going to use the revenue from the tariffs to chop down the national debt. And as part of the national debt conversation, chopping it down, the Federal Executive Institute, where executives have been trained for generations on Emmett Street, has been shuttered. We're talking 90,000 square feet of building space. We're talking 14 acres in between Barracks Road Shopping Center and Stonefield, smack dab in the middle of the cock block, the only place that I know in the entire world where 6 fried chicken joints can survive and less than a mile of each other. And Donald Trump says, you know what, despite the cock block, despite the position between Barracks Road and the shops of Stonefield, we're going to take these 14 acres that have been assessed at nearly $20 million, that have a market value somewhere between $20 and $40 million. Most certainly that market value somewhere between $20 and $40 million is directly tied to the fried chicken sold on the cock block. Donald Trump didn't say that about the fried chicken and the cock block. Those were my words here. But everything else was factual. It's assessed just under $20 million. It has a market value somewhere between $40 and $60 million, and they're 14 acres. There's 90,000 square feet. And someone, UVA, Charlottesville Public Schools, and now Rob Schilling reports a Christian school as well, all were chomping at the bit to get the Federal Executive Institute putting applications in. Mm-hmm. The Department of Education, which reports to Donald Trump, which is facing significant budget cuts. In fact, it was those budget cuts that may have caused the reneging of this deal. Initially, last week, the city public schools get the Federal Executive Institute. And city manager Sam Sanders and superintendent Dr. Royale Gurley, they tell the community, jump for joy. This is a generational opportunity. We're going to put an epicenter for preschool here, and we're going to do a King's Court of Administrative Offices at the Federal Executive Institute. We will be celebrating this hand-me-down gift from President Trump for generations to come. A generational opportunity, Sam Sanders' words. And then at happy hour, cocktail hour, when Jay Wyant, the gentleman farmer, the Titan of Troy, is cracking his Bud Light, maybe his first or second Bud Light, Donald Trump and the Department of Education says, in the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friends. We're not going to give it to those kids, those little boys and those little gals in that early education. We're not going to give it to those public schools and that administrative office. And instead, we're going to give it to the University of Virginia. And we're going to give it to a school with a nearly $15 billion endowment instead of a public school system that is doing its very best, ladies and gentlemen, to try to come up with its yearly budget. 140, 150, $150 million. We're going to say, screw that school system and give it to the rich folks, the wealthy folks. And now the city is up at arms. And we've had statements issued. The first one came out by the teachers' union. Its president, Shannon Gillikin. She issues a statement over the weekend, Judah. And that statement over the weekend included a threat. And I'm going to read the statement, a portion of it, verbatim to you, the viewer and listener. Quote, and this is from Charlottesville Education Association President Shannon Gillikin. We ask that UVA rescind their application for the Federal Executive Institute property, and until they do, so we are calling on all educators in Charlottesville City Schools to boycott hosting UVA practicum and student teachers for the next school year. Need some punctuation in that sentence, but I'm not going to be the grammar police here. That's not my role to be the grammar police, but that's kind of a run-on sentence here. But basically what she is saying is if we don't get this building and if UVA doesn't give it to us, we are not going to host any more UVA students anymore as they work their way to a degree because they have to log classroom hours and work alongside teachers to get those hours in actual real-life setting. That's a threat. Is that a threat?
Yeah, I'd say that's a threat.
Why is that a threat? Why is that a threat?
Because it's saying if you don't do X, then we'll do Y.
Threats. Despite not hearing a response from the university. Look, I'm going to give you my take on this in about 90 seconds. Then we have the school board issue a statement to the media. And the school board president is Emily Dooley. Miss Dooley issues a statement. And she says on the record, quote, we are not actively fighting this. The main thing to keep in mind is that we have real students who need real spaces to go to school in the fall of 2026. So we do not have time to delay. So I need to understand something, okay? The school board, elected officials, They run the city public school budget, the school board. The school board, elected officials who run the budget, tell media, we are not actively fighting this. And they tell the media about 24 hours to 36 hours after the teachers' union and its president tell the media that we are actively fighting this. Make it make sense. Why, within a 36-hour period of time, does the head of the teachers' union in Charlottesville Public Schools say, we are effing fighting this? And the only leverage we have with the university is we are going to disinvite your students in our classrooms and keep them from logging classroom hours to get their degrees. That's how we're going to stick it to you, UVA. And then 36 hours later, the elected officials, the school board say, exact words, we are not actively fighting this. Where's the cohesion in messaging? Where's the cohesion in strategy? Where's the cohesion in gamesmanship? Where's the art of the deal?
Could it be plausible deniability from the Charlottesville school system?
Oh, unpack that for me, because I have a feeling where you're going to go, and I can't wait to pick this apart. I can't wait to pick this apart like canned tuna into Grandma's tuna salad. She uses Miracle Whip in that tuna salad, and she picks it apart, that tuna from the can, and puts it into a bowl and gets the Miracle Whip and adds a bunch of fruits and vegetables to it. I'm going to pick it apart just like Grandma's tuna salad. Oh, yeah. Fruits and veggies. A little celery. Some tomato. Are you saying tomato's not a fruit?
I've never had tomato in a
oh, it's very good.
Tuna salad.
It's very good. Make your point here so I can pick it apart.
I was just thinking that whatever the backlash might be to this declaration of war against UVA and UVA's student teachers, the Charlottesville administration now has plausible deniability that they've got nothing to do with this.
This is what I think instead has happened. The teachers' union issued a statement at a time of significant emotion where they got royally screwed. And because they got royally screwed, they were bitter and emotional, and a statement was released. Then, 36 hours later, the school board, with a little bit of measure and thought, issued their own statement and said, really, there's nothing we can do. And frankly, the best way to get a deal done is with a little bit of honey, then some vinegar.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to explain how this should have played out. And this is coming from someone who legitimately spends 60 to 70 hours a week brokering deals. What we do here at our firm is put deals together. That's why we were off air yesterday at a closing. What Charlottesville public school evangelists, enthusiasts, supporters should have done was said, oh my goodness, issued a statement and said, oh my goodness, we are extremely discouraged that the University of Virginia was handpicked by Trump's Department of Education for the Federal Executive Institute, especially since Trump's Department of Education awarded us this property just last week. We thought this was on the way of being signed, sealed, and delivered. And then to have the Federal Executive Institute snatched away from us and bestowed to the University of Virginia and its wealthy, deep coffers makes no sense to us. We await a move from the University of Virginia. We await a response from the University of Virginia, and we hope that our next door neighbor will do well by the community and eventually gift us either the Federal Executive Institute or a different holding in its portfolio that we can use for preschool students to help build a preschool epicenter, because currently we don't have one that is up to speed. So please, the University of Virginia, the ball's in your court. And then you gently use the art of perception management to put the ball in UVA's court. Now, there are strings attached with the Federal Executive Institute where the University of Virginia is not going to be able to gift this to the city public schools.
Right.
That's part of the contract. They're not just going to be able to take something for free from UVA and then go sell it for market value or give it to somebody else. But the University of Virginia could gift another holding in its portfolio to the city public schools and say, look, here's an olive branch. We are a good steward of this community. So the first move that should have happened from the Teachers Association and from the school board, they should have been in cahoots, conversating. And they should have said, we are stunned and disheartened. And we hope UVA will make the right move here and help us out. And put the ball in their court. However, the first play in the chessboard in the art of the deal was the Teachers Owners Association basically saying to the University of Virginia, F you, jerks. You stole this from us. When the reality is it wasn't UVA that stole it from them.
Right.
The reality was it was the Department of Education that changed its mind. And the Department of Education even said, we're changing our mind because our department has been ravaged with cuts. And the communication didn't happen correctly. Yeah. The chain of command didn't happen correctly. So we mistakenly gave it to the public school system instead of UVA, who should have gotten it all along. They're basically attributing it to Trump. Mm-hmm. It wasn't UVA that stole or snatched this from city schools. It was the Department of Education that reneged on the deal. That's literally what happened.
Yeah.
And if you understood the art of the deal, you would understand that basic premise. And pissing on UVA and threatening them by saying, no, we're not going to take your students anymore, puts UVA with its back in a corner. Pins UVA down. So now UVA, if it gives the public school system some kind of an item out of its holdings, a building out of its holdings, some kind of piece of real estate, it's going to look weak. It's going to look like it was bullied by a teachers union into giving them something. Yeah. And then UVA has to decide, do we want to have that appearance of weakness or vulnerability? Because if we look weak in this deal, where the perception, where the public opinion says, if we get pinned in the corner, we're just going to cave, then what's next? A payment in lieu of taxes program? A pilot program? Listen to the mistake the Teachers Association has made. By pissing on UVA's leg, UVA is now backed in a corner saying, we don't want to be golden showered anymore. Leave us alone. We're not going to give you anything because you threaten on us. Because if we give to you in this golden shower moment and give you one of our buildings, then the next golden shower is going to be you telling us to give you $12 or $15 million for taxes. A payment in lieu of taxes program, a pilot, which Michael Payne has been positioning or politicking for a long period of time. The problem is Michael Payne does not have the je ne sais quoi, the charm. He does not have the influence to galvanize the community to go against UVA in the form of a pilot program. Jim Ryan, the University of Virginia, the Board of Visitors, the UVA Foundation, the C-suite, the movers and shakers, they're getting golden showered right now. They can't say yes to what the teachers union wants because then they'll just get golden showered next week for something else. And that's the art of the deal. Understanding how you can put pieces together. Look, when it comes to human interaction and figuring out the art of the deal, you have to understand this. A, everyone wants to be seen, heard, and understood. B, figure out what the other party wants. And when you know what the other party wants, use that to your advantage. And C, don't be the first to speak. He who speaks first in a deal loses the deal most often. So if you want to start putting deals together, or you want to have a conversation, or de-escalate an argument with your husband or wife, your friend, your significant other, do these three things. A, everyone wants to be seen, heard, and understood. Understand that. Appreciate that. Seen, heard, and understood. We all have that quality as human beings. B, figure out whoever you're arguing with or you're doing a deal with, figure out what they truly want. And figure out a way to give it to them or her in exchange for something you really want. And lastly, don't be the first to speak. Let the other party speak first so you understand the lay of the land. That's how you make a deal. I've been doing this for 17 years on the 29th of May, putting deals together like this. With that equation, by saying to UVA, the Teachers Union Association, that you better give us this or we're not going to allow your students in our classroom to log their hours, you're threatening them. The school board realized the teacher union made a mistake. And that's why the president of the school board, Emily Dooley, said, you know what? We're not going to fight this. We hope UVA will be a good neighbor. Basically trying to cover the crap that the Teachers Association made. Now, I will say this. Did the public school system get screwed? Yes. Was it a travesty? Yes. Should the Federal Executive Institute have gone to the public school system in Charlottesville City? Yes. Did UVA need this? No. But did UVA wheel and deal to get this? Is that a fair question? Did someone in Jim Ryan's cabinet, did someone in the Board of Visitors, did someone higher up in the C-suite at UVA reach out through the bat phone, through the tin can and the yarn and the other tin can at the White House and say, hey, tin can, put the tin can in the ear. We got the string, the yarn coming from the tin can, and that yarn coming from the tin can goes up the coast, goes to D.C. through the center of Virginia, and it goes into the White House and says, Donald, we will eliminate DEI, Donald, if you give us the Federal Executive Institute. We're going to do this anyway, Don, because we want your federal money. We need it. Bat phone. Hey, Big Don, Donnie boy, we'll cut DEI. Just give us the Federal Executive Institute. How about that deal? You want you want DEI out at UVA. We want the Federal Executive Institute and your money. Is win-win here. UVA knows how to negotiate, don't they? I don't know for certain if that did not happen. I do not know for certain that UVA did not leverage the elimination of DEI in exchange for guaranteed federal funding in the Federal Executive Institute. Do I find that far-fetched? Absolutely, I find it far-fetched. But do I say that did not happen with confidence and conviction? No, I can't say it with confidence and conviction. Can you? Can you?
Yeah.
Can you say it a little louder for Sally in the back of the bus?
I could not say that.
Do I think it happened? No. But have I seen crazier things in 17 years of making deals? Absolutely. But I do know that a major mistake was made by the teacher union with the threat. Major mistake. And I do know that UVA now has its back against the wall, and if it gives in to that threat, then Jim Ryan, hear me out. Board of Visitors, hear me out. Put me on this one shot right here. You got me on a one shot? UVA Board of Visitors and Jim Ryan, you need to listen to this. If you give in to the threat from the Teachers Association, the union, where they're threatening not allowing your students in their classrooms to log hours for their degrees, if you give in to that threat, next week or the week after, you're going to face another threat. And that threat will be from the same people who feel emboldened or feel confident that they could continue threatening you to get things. And the next threat that you're going to have come across your desk is a payment in lieu of taxes program, which you really don't want to do, because once you start making the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, you're going to have to do that in effing perpetuity, dudes. Okay, and I think you should be making a payment in lieu of taxes. I think you should be contributing your fair share. And no, I don't think that you stimulating the economy and driving GDP locally and driving job opportunity locally is enough. I think you've overstayed your welcome, and a lot of people in the community are pissed off about what you're doing, where you're taking real estate off of tax rolls and you're making the area extremely expensive. But just from an art of the deal standpoint, if you cave into peer pressure and you cave into threats right now, more threats will come your way. And I think you already know that, because you guys are pretty smart people. God, it's good to be back in the saddle. Judah Wickhauer, jump in here. Comments are coming in left and right. Got reporters at the Times-Dispatch watching the show right now. Newspaper, radio, and television all over the show. Judah, go.
I mean, there's been some interesting discussion that I've seen take place in regards to whether the city schools deserve the FEI building, whether UVA deserves the FEI building, the fact that there's actually a third group, the CCA, which I believe is the Community Christian Academy.
The CCA had no shot at getting this.
I didn't say they did.
Community Christian Academy had no shot at getting this.
I hadn't heard any reporting that they were in this in any way. And the fact that that anyone thinks that any one of these groups deserves it over the other is frankly debatable. And there have been some interesting comments that we should just sell it and use the money for the city. Or what was another interesting? Somebody said turn it into a what, like a hotel?
Hotel?
Yeah.
Let's go turn into a hotel. Who said that?
I couldn't tell you.
No hotel. I got a direct message from a local insider who I don't have his approval to utilize his name. This local insider sent me some permitting documentation. Speaking of hotels, he says, this is some breaking news for you. Hampton Inn and Suites coming to Pantops next to the Virginia High School League office. Foundation permits issued. And then he sends me some screenshots of the foundation permits that have been issued. And then he sends me some data from City Hall about the proposed Hampton Inn and Suites parcel, 2.38 acres. I'm getting off track, though. That's next to the Virginia High School League property. The people that really should have gone after the Federal Executive Institute were folks tied to the houseless and homeless. The first priority for the Federal Executive Institute, according to the federal government, was an epicenter for the houseless and the homeless. If someone that had any kind of organizational ties to aiding or supporting the houseless and the homeless, they really had a shot at getting this, ahead of even UVA and the public schools. But geez Louise, I had that in my pocket for about 2 weeks, and I'm telling you right now, having an epicenter for the houseless and the homeless somewhere between Barracks Road, the shops in Stonefield, and smack dab in the middle of the cock block, that is not a place for an epicenter for the houseless or the homeless. So I didn't talk about it. I didn't want it to get attention. I'm not saying we shouldn't give hand-ups. I'm not saying we shouldn't do epicenters for the houseless or the homeless. The houseless for the homeless should not be between Barracks Road Shopping Center, the shops at Stonefield, and in the heartbeat of the cock block, though.
You're worried about people getting hit?
Worried about people getting hit? That's not what I'm worried about. What are you talking about?
I didn't think so.
Are you reading the tea leaves? Should an epicenter for the houseless or the homeless be in the prime shopping district of Albemarle in the city of Charlottesville? Right next to where you get finger-licking good wings and drumsticks and breasts and thighs and that Raisin Cane sauce or that Zaxby sauce or those fried chicken bowls. Goodness gracious, Judah Wickhauer. Let's go to comments. Comments are coming in faster than I can keep up. Number 2 in the family, John Blair, his photo on screen. John Blair says, I think everyone needs to take a step back on the Federal Executive Institute property. This is a real issue I have with the Department of Government Efficiency. Why in the world did all of this happen in a couple of months? From putting the property on the market to granting it to the schools to granting it to UVA, you and Judah know real estate. Is this any way to run a railroad? It feels like you would want an appraisal, a very detailed request for proposals. Those are called RFPs, boys and girls. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, John Blair says. Instead, we've seen one of the most prominent pieces of property in the area pass around like a cold biscuit. I'll take it a step further from John Blair. You know what they're doing with the Federal Executive Institute? Let me respond to John Blair's comment on LinkedIn. I'm going to respond to it. Amen, brother. Exclamation point, enter send. I just said, amen, brother. They're playing, you know what they're doing with the Federal Executive Institute? Hold on, Judah. Put me on go to the studio camera, a 2-shot. Hold on. I'm back. You know what they're doing with the Federal Institute? They're playing hot potato. Hot potato. Hot potato. They're playing hot potato with the Federal Executive Institute. Judah, are we on a two-shot?
Yeah.
Go to the studio camera. Go to the studio camera right now, Judah. We on a studio camera?
Yeah.
Let's play some hot potato. Here's $40 and $60 million right here. This is Donald Trump and the Department of Education. Here you go. Charlottesville Public Schools. Here you go. Hot potato. You're burning your hand. It's back to UVA's hand. Oh my gosh. It's going to a Christian academy. Christian Academy. Christian Academy.
Sorry.
You just
Christian
dropped
Academy
the hot
dropped the
potato,
ball.
Christian Academy. Dang it. There goes my gimmick and my prop. Hot potato with $40, $60 million. Neil Williamson watching the program. Viewers and listeners, comments that are coming in faster than I can keep up. We're going to get to those comments here in a matter of moments. Deep Throat, you're on deck. Neil Williamson. Today's Neil Williamson's birthday. Happy birthday, Neil
Happy
Williamson. Birthday. I hope your day is spent on a golf course at Green Hills, drinking the finest of Merlots, chased with the finest of local bourbons. Perhaps a cigar is in your future, Neil Williamson, and perhaps a fantastic entree from Jack Shop's Kitchen is in your future. President of the Free Enterprise Forum. Happy birthday. I'm not sure what this comment applies to, Neil. He says the mission of CASSE is to advance the steady state economy with stabilized population and consumption as a policy goal with widespread public support. Give me more intel on that, Neil. I'll happily relay it live on air. Bill McChesney says, is the president of the teacher union related to the Gillikin of livable CVille? Judah, do you want to handle that?
I can neither confirm...
They're married. They are married. They literally are married. Yes. Two individuals that are married that live in the same house are two of the biggest activists. One of them is the president of the teachers union, and the other one is the head of the lobbying group for a new zoning ordinance, more taxes on real estate, and more density and multifamily everywhere. They're married. Vanessa Parkhill, her photo on screen, she says, I'm sure Albemarle County Public Schools and other school systems will gladly take student teachers from UVA. How about this for a scenario? Then I'm going to Deep Throat, okay? Let's say Charlottesville Public Schools follows through on its threat. And Judah Wickower reports at the beginning of the show that you have teachers at Charlottesville Public Schools that are already going on record saying, screw those UVA students. They are not invited into our classroom anymore. Judah, what did you say in the beginning of the program? What did you read?
Where?
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Keep up.
What did I
in
say
the
at
beginning of the
show?
program, what did you say that the teachers were saying about hosting UVA students to log hours for their degree?
That they're not going to do it anymore.
Okay, you added some more color. What else did you say?
There was one of them that announced that they had already sent an email saying that they weren't going to host. There was another one that had also sent an email saying that they were not going to they weren't going to do it.
The teachers are already saying to UVA, we are going to threaten you, and we're already emailing your students that you can't come into our classroom. Can I tell you how this is going to play out? Ready? The students at UVA still have to log classroom hours. All they're going to do is start logging those classroom hours elsewhere. And can you imagine if those students at UVA start logging those classroom hours at private schools instead of the public schools? Having a UVA third year, fourth year, or fifth year student pursuing their undergraduate degree or their master's in education in a classroom is an advantage for the classroom. It's not a hindrance for the classroom. Having somebody that has a UVA education, a UVA degree, that is passionate about education is an asset to overcrowded classrooms and to students pursuing higher education. If those UVA students end up in private school classrooms instead of public schools, it only widens the educational gap in Central Virginia, a gap that is already massive. Massive. Deep Throat's got comments. God, let's go to Deep Throat, number one in the family. Oh, he's confirming what I'm saying. Deep Throat's confirming what I'm saying. He says UVA already has many student teachers at STAB, St. Anne's Belfield Academy. Deep Throat says continue to bring them on. Deep Throat is throwing some shade to the president of the teachers union. He says the president of the teachers union is ignorant. That property is not in UVA's gift at this point. UVA can't give it away. If UVA withdraws, the Department of Education does not need to award it to Charlottesville Public Schools. The Department of Education could easily say there is no good proposal under public benefit conveyance, and we are moving on to the next step in the de-ascension process. Next step would be negotiated sale. And a negotiated sale, ladies and gentlemen, would mean market value. And market value of a negotiated sale would mean who would lose the property? The public schools of Charlottesville, because the value of this property is like 30% of their budget. They can't afford this. The only reason they could afford this is because it was going to be a hand-me-down gift for $0. Like our oldest son gives his tidy whities to his little brother. Hand-me-down tidy whities. The Federal Executive Institute is hand-me-down tidy whities from one big brother to a little brother. And then he says, that's why we don't put kindergarten teachers in charge of negotiating multi-million dollar deals. His words, not mine. And then he comes up with a creative idea, because Deep Throat is a deal maker, does this professionally. He says UVA could give Charlottesville Public Schools Oak Lawn. That's the property in Fifeville with historical significance to the black community, right in the heart of the city. It's right next to an existing elementary school, center of town, nearer to people who need pre-K education for their kids. See, this is called deal making. This is understanding that everyone wants to be seen, heard, and understood. This is understanding that to make a deal, you have to give something to get something. And this is understanding he who speaks first in the deal is he who loses the deal. And that's why you watch the I Love CVille show. That's why you listen to this program, because we cut through crap. No one else is talking about what's going on like this. Jason Noble watching the program. William McChesney on McIntyre Road. With encouragement and a positive response instead of a negative one, Charlottesville Public Schools and the UVA School of Education could have created an early childhood development center to benefit the entire region. But no, the city screaming memes have now face-palmed UVA. James Watson watching the program. Can you gift a property to the city without approval from the Board of Visitors? Or is their real estate wing something that exists outside of the BOV? It's a great question, James. I would imagine nothing's happening without BOV green light, though. I will say this. One of the meme accounts on Instagram, Judah, was doing aggressive meme coverage of Jim Ryan. You now have the meme accounts that lean liberal and activists going after Jim Ryan. You also have the Jefferson Council that leans conservative and activists going after Jim Ryan. In today's political and Charlottesville and educational climate, you have left-leaning liberal activists and right-leaning conservative activists all shooting arrows at Jim Ryan Think about that. All happening right now. But I will say that the University of Virginia, if they give to this kind of pressure, these kind of threats, the next threat is the pilot program. Mark it down. Lisa Costello watching the program. I'm going to get to the Queen of Cherry Avenue who's watching the show. She says, unpopular opinion, just a couple short years ago, Charlottesville High School had brawls breaking out on the regular, teachers hanging out together and calling out sick to protest the violence inside the school and the principal quitting. Hopefully the situation has improved. Nice buildings do not compensate for out-of-control fighting, brawling, and bullying on school grounds. Violence in the school is more of a concern than that FEI building. She also says, what public statements did the Teacher Association make about all the out-of-control fighting and brawling? And she also says, UVA students help Charlottesville City School students. Not permitting them in city schools because they are pissed about the executive building is punishing the students they are supposed to be advocating for. 100%, Ms. Costello. Janice Boyce Trevelyan, I don't doubt that the city schools need help, but this building is not practical for them. The amount needed to transform and maintain that building is out of their budget. 100% JBT. Great call from JBT. $2 million a year to maintain that building. In year one, plus the upfront remodeling costs. This was them trying to own an estate when they had the budget of a McMansion. If they can't keep Buford and Walker up to speed, how in the HE double hockey sticks are they going to be able to keep 14 acres and 90,000 square feet up to speed? Make it make sense. Mm-hmm. All of us want a Keswick farm. All of us want 180 acres and a 5,000 square foot mansion with a guest house, a pool house, a beautiful big barn, and that gate with a driveway that's rolling over hills. But you know what? It's expensive as all get out to maintain that farm and that estate. That's why some of us have budgets for McMansions and not farms and estates. Or some of us have budgets for condos and townhomes or starter homes or move-up homes and not farms and estates. The city public school system is punching way out of its class. The city public school system has champagne taste on a budget Chardonnay diet. Come on. Wanting the 12-year-old Macallan Scotch when your budget Judah Wickhauer is Virginia Gentleman. Give me a break. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer, what do you got? Is this Shreve? What's our next headline?
Yeah.
Put it on screen. Let the viewers and listeners know. Let's conversate, Judah. Let's conversate.
All right. We have a new, well, not new. We've known about him, but we didn't know about some of what he had to say. I found it particularly interesting that Dave Shreve, or Shreve, I'm not sure which,
Dave, you can come on the program anytime you want.
Has announced his candidacy for the Jack Jewett seat in the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors.
Big D
is calling out the tax, the rise in taxes on rooftops, and saying that
what I've been saying for 2.5, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Big D, who's running as a D, tells the media that taxing rooftops and real estate is a stupid way to breed affordability in Albemarle County.
Yeah.
Duh. Obviously. Let's do this, Albemarle County. Let's tax the lower class, the middle class, and the upper class, and let's take as much of their money as possible in the sake of creating an affordable Albemarle County. Who is that going to hurt the most? The lower class and the middle class, not so much the upper class.
Yeah.
Who in their right mind allowed the livable CVille people to get in their ear and say raising the real estate tax rate 4 cents was a smart move? This is the same organization that crapped all over the new zoning ordinance and got us a zoning code that is quicksand in a lawsuit and is doing nothing but breeding subtext, 1,300-bed luxury apartments by Scott Stadium, big apartment towers by Moe's Barbecue. That's not creating affordability. All it is making it more expensive to live here. I have been saying that since before COVID. Since before COVID, I've been saying that. And I got thousands of hours of video and audio to back it on the internet. And finally, and the interesting thing is it's a Democrat that's saying that. Yeah. You got Sally Duncan running, who's basically a socialist, against Dave Shreve, Big D.
Wait, what? Sally Duncan?
Sally Duncan. What do you mean? Why are you asking a question? What's the question for?
Just didn't recognize the name at first.
That's Dave's opponent in the Jack Jewett district. She's a renter, a champion for housing. Right. She rents in Earlysville. She's a teacher. Her husband works in City Hall, remember? Mm-hmm. One of the chief traffic engineers in Charlottesville City Hall. Duncan has been handpicked by Livable CVille. You realize that, right? Livable CVille is handpicked Sally Duncan, the organization that is calling for the elimination of single-family detached housing zoning and opportunistic dirt and as much density as possible, is now infiltrating Albemarle County and handpicking people. Despite the fact that they created a new zoning ordinance that is stuck in a lawsuit and is costing taxpayers millions of dollars because there's no city attorney. Effing crazy time we live in. Jeremy Wilson's watching in Tennessee. Tennessee's in the house and says, remember, Jerry, tax, 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 tax. More taxes solve all the problem. I've never met Jeremy Wilson in person, but I know he's being tongue-in-cheek right there. Big D, you're welcome to come on the program anytime you want. Actually, Sally Duncan's welcome to come on the program anytime you want. Neil Williamson says, Shrev, like Eve. Adam and Eve? How do you spell Eve, Adam and Eve? E-V-E?
Yeah.
Shreve? Eve?
I think if he's saying it sounds like Eve, then it's probably not Shrev like Eve.
Then how's it like?
Shreve like
Shreve.
Eve.
Shreve like Eve. Thank you, birthday boy Neil Williamson. We love you. I'd give you a flying chest bump. Dave Shreve.
Yep.
You basically have a big D Democrat and Sally Duncan running against a little D Democrat and Dave Shreve. To replace Diantha McKeel. And Ned Galloway and Diantha McKeel are on Friday's Real Talk at 10:15 a.m.
Yep.
Diantha McKeel and Ned Galloway on Real Talk on Friday at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille network. Next topic, what do you got, Judah Wickhauer? We're 62 minutes into this program. I got to go make some money.
J. Hoot Martin.
Oh, this is bananas. I heard about this at 11 a.m. this morning. J. Who Martin. Oh, I got a text here. Oh, thank you, Jim Hingley. Jim Hingley is helping me here. Jim Hingley, you are a gentleman and a scholar. He says it's Shreve, long E. Thank you, Mr. Hingley. Thank you. Someone that may or may, someone who is, I need a new moniker for him. I can't use his old moniker because his old moniker, people figured out. So I'm going to call him now the cleaner. I'm going to call him the cleaner. The cleaner is watching the program. For the love of God, Charlottesville needs to smarten up. The Federal Executive Institute cannot be given away by UVA. It's going to be state property, just like the Rotunda. That's what I'm trying to tell the teachers union. They can't just give you this. And by threatening them, you basically have pinned them in a corner, golden shower them, and now they're not going to give you something else. Jehu Martin, Mr. Belmont, he sends me this message. And Jehu Martin said, you know what's going on at Fitzgerald Tire in Belmont, a property that's for sale for $1 million? Last night, Monday night, out of the blue, some entity or some organization, some group, some people, he didn't say who, decided to charge any car that parked in the Fitzgerald parking lot $11.50 an hour. If you want to go to the local for open mic night.
What do you mean someone?
We don't know.
Wouldn't it have to be the current owners?
We don't know. I mean, how do you know someone didn't form a JV, a joint venture, and said, you know what, Fitzgerald Tire, there's a boatload of people parking in your parking lot. I want you to grant me the opportunity to monetize your parking lot from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. at night, and I will pay you $100 a day, owner of Fitzgerald Tire. And for that $100 a day, I get to decide who can park here at what rate. And they've decided the rate is $11.50 an hour. $11.50 an hour. That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's strong-arm robbery. And they're saying $11.50 an hour to park there. And if you don't park specifically in the parking lot and you overhang in any capacity, you will be ticketed by Charlottesville police. And they had Charlottesville police walk in the parking lot last night.
Really?
Yep. Exact words. People have been parking there for decades. And last night, someone decided that you had to pay to park there. $11.50 an hour. A tow truck showed up later in the evening and started to tow a car with a handicap sticker on it. At the same time, a policeman showed up and he walked around the lot to see if anybody had parked or if the bumper or portion of any car was over onto the sidewalk. This happens often because it's a tiny little triangle parking lot. And the officer said he was there to give tickets to anybody who was improperly parked. It made the night somewhat interesting as the patrons had to sprint from the restaurant at the local to go and move their car. And $11.50? That seems extravagant.
No doubt.
What's going on there, Jerry? Can you use your platform? What is going on? What is going on? People have been parking in that parking lot since I first arrived in Charlottesville in August of 2000. 25 years I've been here. I myself have parked in that parking lot. Now you know. The more you know. It's good to be back. I was off air yesterday because of a closing. I'm grateful to connect with you, the viewer and listener, through the I Love CVille network, where we are unabashed and unafraid in our commentary, where we cut through the BS, shoot you straight, and tell you news or relay news in educational, enlightening, and entertaining capacities. Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, The I Love CVille Show.